You're basically Uncle Elrod? Am I your Unk, y'all? I'll be Unk. I'll be Uncle Elrod for y'all. I ain't afraid of the word Unk.
This is where the triad of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan lies.
Uncle
It
G.
is a region full of activity, though often for the wrong reasons. Here, communal life is broken, international borders are breached daily, and both militants and militaries carry out secret operations, each looking for the next power grab. In recent years, the region has become even more violent.
I have social anxiety because I was bullied in school. Same, actually. Called fat shamed. I was told I was fat and ugly and no one would want to go to prom with me, so I get it. You have acne scars and you have a problem with your left eye. The scars, wear them as trophies. And I don't know what's going on with your eye, but you're a human at the end of the day. Good people, good humans will look past whatever it is.
Violent and unstable, exceeding its usual turmoil. Reciprocal skirmishes now make it one of the world's most dangerous areas. In January, Balochi insurgents.
And I know this is gonna sound King, I just wanted to say this, like, I'm gonna yap away, and I just came through my 20s, and this is going to be a weird flex. I'm sorry, guys. This is gonna be a flex. I'm about to flex. Okay. I went through my 20s, and now I'm in my 30s. I don't know how many people get to say in their life they are a 3-time world champion and a 7-man MVP. Okay? When it comes to winning, I understand how to win. I understand that there are bend or break moments, and you will never fucking see me break. Ever. And I want you. No, and it's not just an American flex, it's a human flex. Is I want, because I beat some to get this one, I had to send a team from Germany and France, put them in a plane and send their ass on home and let them know that they ain't that shit. This is global. This is worldwide, right? This is humans. This is how to win as a human, right? When you're thinking about the game, don't give your opponent any. You can respect your opponent, but don't give them any type of like superpower in your head. Don't mythologicalize them. Don't make them like Wukong in your head. They're just another person, and ultimately you are going to go there and dissect everything in front of you. Okay, so I brought this up to say that I'm a man who came from his 20s into his 30s, and I want to teach you guys the lessons on how to win, because there are so many fucking losers on the internet who are just going to bitch and complain and just going to continue to spew loser shit. We ain't about that. We're not fucking losers in this community. We're gonna be a bunch of winners, and the only way we're gonna do things is the right way. Aight? I'll be right back.
This is where the triad of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan lies. It is a region full of activity, though often for the wrong reasons. Here, communal life is broken, international borders are breached daily, and both militants and militaries carry out secret operations, each looking for the next power grab. In recent years,
my man
the
got that
region
Virat Kohli
has
mentality.
become
Yeah, that's
even
why
more
I listened to Virat
violent
Kohli and I was
unstable,
like, yo,
exceeding its usual
I
turmoil.
like this guy.
Reciprocal skirmishes now make it one of the world's most dangerous areas. In January, Balochi insurgents launched attacks across borders into Iran and Pakistan. The Iranian Air Force responded by bombing covert groups within Pakistan, prompting Pakistan to strike hostile camps in Iran. Later in March, Pakistan's Air Force targeted Taliban units in Afghanistan in retaliation for an earlier assault. Meanwhile, a different Taliban unit had hit Iranian positions near the border a year prior. More recently, in October, separatists attacked Karachi airport, killing Chinese engineers.
What's terrifying to me is that like all of this stuff happens in the East, right? And it's never in the West. And my true fear is that this year in 2025, it's going to be the first time that America has a battle in its backyard.
The list goes on.
Bobby is an OG. Bobby is an OG. I will say Bobby and Omni are both OGs around here.
And on, but these
But Bobby, I have to say, is the OG of the OGs.
incidents show just how intertwined insurgency and local grievances have become. The 2024 Global Security Index now
Karma is a bitch. America is going to have some karma. Unfortunately, I think you're right. And Americans like myself, we never wanted any of this. We don't like our government sticking their dirty little fingers and creating atrocities over in the East. We understand what karma is.
ranks
We know she's a beach, and she's going to be playing in the sand, and she's going to be like a tidal wave that comes up on our homeland. I mean, we saw it in New Orleans, and supposedly the Vegas bomber with the Tesla truck in front of the Trump Towers, that was a signal to pop the lid on what America has been doing.
Pakistan as the fourth most effective.
So, I mean, all of you guys who have been in here, the cool thing is even though I've been streaming for a while, this new energy, this new wave of momentum we've got, all of you are a part of it. So with that said, thank you for everybody who comes in here, who hangs out with me in the streams. I want to set a standard of excellence. The only way we're going to do things here is the right way. We're going to do it with being human. We're going to be kind to each other. If we could troll, we can laugh, we could dog on each other, but we're not going to be racist. We're not going to dog on we're not going to bring each other down, right? We're only to lift each other up. So for those of you who are in the Discord, those of you who are in the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat, please for me, help create the standard of excellence, right? I want a standard of excellence within our community. We can have fun, we can joke around and whatnot, but we're not going to pull other people down. We're not going to be racist. And if something happens down the road or we have a conflict with another creator, we're not attacking creators. We're going to stay in our little circle, our own little lane, and we're going to have some fun and laughs along the way.
By militancy, Afghanistan at 6th.
Why do people believe in karma? Because it's true. All energy, you cannot create or destroy energy. You can only manifest it and manipulate it. So if you're manifesting energy around you and manipulating it to be negative and affect those around you, eventually that's going to come back and hurt you too. Poison is the only vessel that harms the container it's brought in.
At 26th. Here, nationalists, jihadists,
karma is not real. If it is, I should have experienced it. You have.
militants and governments all fight for supremacy, but things are getting worse with each attack. The triad is now slowly merging into a single battle space, and borders have become like chalk lines, bold today, smudged tomorrow. This region also has the distinct honor of being one of the most unfriendly places for women. The Taliban has recently tightened its morality laws, banning women from hearing each other. Pretty insane stuff. However, as horrible as this is, I believe it is essential to access local sources to stay informed about how the region is doing and where it's going. That's why I asked.
It's just karm? It's not karma? Like a dharma wheel? That has nothing to do with it?
Ask Ground News to
Fuck, I'm retarded.
sponsor this video. Meanwhile,
sorry,
in
Ground
Iran,
News.
a female student was detained for protesting the strict dress code. She stripped to her underwear in demonstration.
Hey, yo. Okay, this is actually crazy. The Iranian arrest female student who stripped down to protest, harassment. It's crazy to me, and I know this is kind of like a religious thing, but for another human to have to completely clothe and hide themselves because another human, a male human, can't control their desires or whatnot, to me, that's just asinine. It's like, control yourself, and if you can't, dig a hole 6 feet and get rid of yourself. Karma is Sanskrit and karm is a handy. Oh, okay. God, you guys are so smart. Thank you. I'm an idiot. You guys are the smart ones.
250 articles were published on this, with an even distribution between the right, center, and left. No articles from Iran though, which should come as no surprise. With everything that is happening around the world, stories on women's rights will simply drown in the background noise. So I appreciate that Ground News picks up on these stories. Their blind spot page.
You guys want to hear a joke? Woman's rights. I'm sorry.
Also surfaces these kinds of interesting items that go under the radar
I'm sorry.
all other
I'm going to hell.
outlets. Go to ground.news/Caspian to learn more or scan the QR code on the screen.
That's cool. In my school, I learned Spanish, and I'm already half Spanish. So it was kind of easy for me. You know what I mean? I just came into the class like this, and I just started speaking to my teachers, and they were like, holy shit, this man can know Spanish. I mean, listen to his accent. And I'm just a little 9-year-old kid at that time just trolling my teachers. I don't know no Spanish like that.
Subscribing gets you 50% off the Vantage plan as a limited time offer. That's what I use. Your subscription will also help support our channel and make more content possible, so I recommend you check it out. The link is below. Underneath the contemporary boundaries of Central Asia lies the ghost of Khorasan, echoing the memories of ancient empires.
The Ghost of Khorasan. I mean, that sounds like a video game.
Once a rich cultural and political center,
Like the Ghost of Shishimi.
Khorasan was ruled by various Turkic and Iranian monarchs, each vying for dominance. Yet the seat of power shifted so often that no unified authority ever developed. As a result, Khorasan became Asia's version of the Wild West.
You're telling me you're an asshole since childhood? Yes, I've been a little demon.
In the 19th and 20th centuries, Khorasan became a battleground for the Russian and British empires, which sought to take up defensible positions. The Russians advanced from the northern steppes, while the British came up from the south. What followed was a period of intense geopolitical conflict that gradually eroded Khorasan's shared identity. Caught in the crossfire was the young Afghan state. Both Russia and Britain sought to control it. After years of back-and-forth hostility, a peace treaty was signed in 1893 that turned Afghanistan into a British client state. The peace treaty, crafted by
I don't think there's ever been a British alliance state that turned out well for the state and just wasn't a money laundering scam for Britain.
Henry Durand, established the border between British India and Afghanistan by drawing a line straight across the map, which he named after himself. Durand sat in his office and simply calculated how far British infantry could fire from their westernmost posts and marked the line accordingly. No consideration was given to geography, history, or even existing realities on the ground.
This seems to be the most consistent thing that I've seen over in the East, at least, is that all of these separations of these lands have no real meaning or sense or reason behind it. They're setting up, they're literally taking communities and tribes and putting a line in the middle and say, okay, one side you're Afghanistan, the other side you're not.
Nonetheless, the Durand Line was signed and imposed on the region. For the locals, however, the agreement was a disaster. It cut straight through ethnic communities that had existed together for centuries.
Yes, we are.
The
We're gonna watch
Pashtun
this
people
all
were
over.
particularly affected as the new border divided their towns and cities. Pashtuns were the rulers of Afghanistan, and while many Pashtun areas remained in Afghanistan, many more were left outside of it. This included Peshawar, the city of pearls. For Pashtuns, losing Peshawar felt like losing an arm or a leg. It was a reality they could not accept. Even now, a century later, successive Afghan governments have continued rejecting the Durand Line. Adding to the tension, nearly 3 times as many Pashtuns live in Pakistan than in Afghanistan. Not surprisingly, this fuels strong irredentist feelings in Kabul, which is why Afghanistan claims Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan regions.
So the Durand Line is basically a government line or a policy that was enforced, and nobody's, at least one side of the company, is not abiding by this policy. They said, fuck that line. We don't believe in that line. You see that box up there? That's our box.
If an Afghan government were ever able to unite the Pashtun people in...
What is your stance on the Israel and Hamas, the Palestine war? To be honest, I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough, right? So to have a real opinion on it. But if I did have to say, like, you're gonna, hold a knife to my throat and I have to say something, I just want the killing to stop. I just want people to coexist and live together and understand that there's enough for everybody to win.
...into a single political entity, Pashtun dominance...
Dude, I think that there is all these places that have Hindu and Buddhist majority, and then knock Islam is here. Yeah, and then Islam, with it having in its own scripture the subjugation of other people, I think that inherently is wrong, right? But just stop the killing, right? If you want to believe in Islam, I'm sure there's really nice, wholesome, Muslim people. I'm sure there are. It's the extremist of anything, and I look at that at Christianity. Like, that's what was my biggest separation for Christianity, is the Christian holy wars, the Crusades. Looking at even some of the verses in the scripture, you could tell a human wrote it. You could tell that that's not what the cosmos or the energy upstairs says. That is a human translating it and trying to oppress other humans.
In Afghanistan, which currently accounts for about 40% of the population, would grow stronger.
Yeah, I know some Muslim people. The guy at the gas station, he's a Muslim. He and I are great. I love the dude. He and I have great conversations every time. So it's like, I know that there are people who are good, who aren't going to follow every letter to the T in a book.
Moreover, Afghan control over sparsely populated Balochistan would give it
Gas station, he is not Indian.
access
Brother.
to the world's oceans. These two goals, becoming an ethnic majority and escaping landlocked isolation, could then serve as the foundation for a modern, centralized Afghan state. This vision for nation building has been shared by all Afghan governments, old and new.
Yes, yes.
That includes
His name is Singh. He just says, call me Singh.
the Taliban. Emerging from the wake of the Soviet Union's war in Afghanistan, the Taliban ruled the country
It's funny when the stereotypes wind up becoming true, for sure.
from 1996 to 2001 following a civil war, and once again since 2021 after the American withdrawal. Although the Taliban avoid openly presenting themselves as strict Pashtun nationalists, their origins
No, he doesn't wear a turban. He doesn't. He wears like normal clothes like you and I. But he knows about Islam. He and I were talking about it. That's how tight we are. It's like we could talk about religion and politics. That's how close he and I are.
and beliefs are deeply rooted in Pashtun culture.
No, there's petrol and diesel at this gas station.
Like past Afghan governments, the Taliban strongly opposes the Durand Line, so much so that it draws strength from it. For example, the Pakistani Taliban, which is different from the Afghan Taliban, exists solely to
Yeah, we'll check it
undo
out, King.
Pakistan's control over Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the region that is home to Peshawar city and where the Pashtuns make up the majority.
There's just so much conflict here, man.
Islamabad designated the Pakistani Taliban a terrorist group in 2008, leading to fierce fighting between the two. Since then, thousands have been killed. The Pakistani Taliban has carried out attacks on schools, taken hostages, bombed mosques, and more. However, these clashes make for an unusual conflict. Islamabad and the Afghan Taliban have historically had close ties, but this relationship has cooled as the Afghan Taliban shares a deeper bond with the Pakistani Taliban. Even so, much of the hostility
Here's a legitimate question. So YouTube comments or Twitch chat. When they talk about the Taliban, he's talking about the Afghan Taliban and the Pakistani Taliban. Is that the same thing as just the Taliban, or is there legitimately like two Talibans that I got to know about?
folds along the Durand Line, with the Pakistani Taliban carrying out attacks, kidnappings, and all the other things expected
So they're two different kinds of Talibans. Why are they both called the Taliban?
from extremists. Meanwhile, Pakistan responds with drone and missile strikes, but must carefully avoid targeting the Afghan Taliban. So, yeah, an unusual conflict. To make matters worse, in 2015,
What in the elbow is going on here, brother? You need to lower that arm.
ISIS Khorasan, or ISIS-K for short, emerged as one of the militant groups thriving from the turmoil.
What?
Thriving from the
What is this guy doing here? This guy looks Amish.
turmoil.
What the hell?
Although it has global ambitions,
Taliban means students. Most of the time it's Afghanistani Taliban. Yeah, that's what I thought. But that's why I was so confused on why they were saying a Pakistani Taliban.
ISIS-K has mostly focused on
Hey,
fighting
namaste.
Kabul, not Islamabad, since it doesn't consider Pakistan to be part of historic Khorasan. Either way, with the Taliban back in control of
Does this Taliban work together though, or are they in conflict with each other?
Kabul, old wounds have reopened and
Many Afghans look white? Really? I thought they would look more like me. Kind of like, tan, and then in the summer, like dark skin. They work together? Okay.
new ones have appeared.
That's Ahmed? That guy's famous?
Their pursuit of dominance, Taliban leaders have
Some Indians look white, yeah, because guess what? We're all fucking human beings at the end of the day.
now allied with several Balochi sectarian groups. The Balochis have a lot in common with the Pashtuns. They too are a divided people. Most live in Pakistan, where, despite numbering in the millions, they make up less than 4% of the population. As such, there is a sense of marginalization within the Balochi community, and many feel that their
You look white, motherfucker? Yeah, because it's the winter time. Just like what Vance said, in the winter, I look white. Don't worry, guys. In the summer, you guys are going to think Fernando is speaking to you guys. You're going to be like, hey, man, what happened to Elrod? We want the Elrod guy again. Why is Francisco here yapping?
cultural identity is under threat. This feeling of vulnerability extends to the Iranian side as well. Unlike the majority Shia Iranians, Balochis are mostly Sunni. Because of these differences in language and
just being
religion,
racist.
Balochis are Iran's most
I like the
alienated
honesty.
ethnic group, and thus the most inclined towards separatism. And Balochi separatist groups are plenty. There is
What do I do except for streaming? Outside of here in my early 20s, I was privileged enough to play professional paintball. Now that I moved on from that, I'm really into fitness, health, motivation. I have a full-time job. My job is basically being like the salesman for a Grim Reaper, but it pays really well.
the Balochistan Liberation Front,
What do you do, Nikin?
BLF for short. It was formed in 1964 and has roots in the anti-colonial and nationalist movements of that era. There is also the Baloch Liberation Army, or BLA for short. This one was formed in the year 2000 as an offshoot of the BLF. However, unlike its parent group, the BLA rejects the political process and advocates solely for military action. Both the BLF and BLA primarily operate within Pakistan. Over in Iran, meanwhile, there is Jaish al-Adl, a jihadist unit with similar goals.
Hell yeah, what are you studying, Nikun? How would I, what's the best way to say your name? Because Nikun, I'm really afraid to say fast. Like, I feel like I have to sit down and lock in and make sure I don't fuck up your name.
It was formed in 2012 and is believed to be funded by Saudi Arabia and the United States. In recent years, all three Balochi separatist groups have acquired American weapons and equipment from the Taliban. That new firepower has led to deadlier attacks.
I did not say the N-word. I said Nikun. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a hard word to say.
Never. In Pakistan, Balochi groups have targeted buses, trains, and bridges. In the first 10 months of 2024, there were 624 deaths and nearly as many injuries.
Hell yeah, become that Dr. Koala. And if you need help, talk to Omni.
August was especially deadly with 254
Yeah, bitch. No, bitch.
people killed in 1 month alone. Balochi militants are also particularly hostile to Chinese interests. In March, 5 Chinese engineers were killed, followed by an attack on a Chinese facility. Later, a blast near Karachi airport killed 2 more Chinese engineers. Things have been tense on the Iranian
Nikunj, at least? Nikunj? Nikunje. I like that.
side too. Last year, 11 Iranian police officers were killed near the city of Rask. In response, Tehran launched missile and drone strikes into Pakistani territory, which led to civilian casualties. Of course, Islamabad had to set the record straight and respond.
Harsh, no one's saying that you're racist, but if there's if anybody who's going to be racist in the Twitch chat, you're not making yourself look good. You're not helping yourself out there, brother.
With airstrikes into Iran, resulting in 9 deaths. All the same, the Balochi militants aim to create an independent state from parts of Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Arguably, it's short-sighted of the Taliban to ally with the Balochi groups, given their conflicting territorial claims. However, the prevailing belief is that they would cross that bridge after stripping away territories from Iran and Pakistan. For now though, by joining forces with the Balochi militias, the Taliban are making a play for Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan
This is what y'all are riding in?
regions,
Not y'all, but like Pakistan, Afghanistan. I think you guys need better motorcycles.
but without
I think you guys need to look at Ola, maybe Mahindra, and get some of those vehicles.
saying as much.
They are poor.
One of the
And probably, I know this is going to sound ignorant on my part, but probably uneducated.
main sources of turmoil
Like, really uneducated.
in this region is the
Like, I know I'm kind of retarded, but like, they're actually retarded.
availability of resources, or lack thereof. The water conflict between Iran and Afghanistan is a prime example of this struggle.
And what's frustrating is, with a culture that is as proud as there are, you can't say, hey guys, we want to help you. You guys are actually retarded. You guys are going out and doing like a rain dance like you're Native Americans. Can we help you understand, you know, like the water cycle and like all of this stuff? Like, but and you tell them that, they're gonna go, oh, we're not stupid. No, you stupid. And it's like, okay, there, guy, you forgot a few words even in that sentence.
As a country with towering peaks, most of Afghanistan's water flows from the Hindu Kush, which stretches across its northern and central regions. These glacial mountains feed the country's hydroelectric dams and produce hundreds of megawatts of electricity. However, these dams also limit access to an already scarce water supply, creating severe impacts for downstream Iran. Take the Helmand River as an example.
I'm kind of retarded, but they're totally retarded.
It's one of the largest rivers in the region, flowing from Afghanistan all the way up to the Hamoon Lakes by the border with Iran. Who controls what, where, and how much of it is hotly contested. Both Afghans and Iranians are ready to die for it, and some already have. Attempts to formalize water rights have all failed. The closest thing to a binding agreement is the 1973 Helmand Water Treaty.
And this is in Darien English version?
It forms the basis of bilateral water policy.
Hold on. What does this say? I want to read this. A water year means that the period from October 1st to the end of the succeeding September. So their water years aren't even in January. It's from October to September. Wow. So like September 30th to October 1st is their year. A normal water year means that the year during which the total flow of water from the 1st of October to the end of the succeeding September, measured and calculated to the hydrometer array station in Dwar located on the Helmand River upstream from the entrance of the Kaiki reservoir in a 4,590,000.
Helmand Water Treaty. It forms the basis of bilateral water policy.
Should hang it and hide it behind the wall.
According to the treaty, Iran can draw 22 cubic meters of water from the river per second, with an option to buy another 4 cubic meters per second in years of normal rainfall. However, since the treaty was never ratified...
Got it. Water and water flow is pretty important for communities and things to grow and live, as seen in the picture. So I can understand why they had to have some treaty to say, hey, we got to share the water.
Enforcement relies on good faith.
What's good, Scotty?
As
Scotty, we're going to play some Valorant here in a minute if you want to hop in and play.
short supply as the water itself. Political unrest in both nations has not helped either. Events like the 1973 Afghan coup, the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the Soviet-Afghan War, the US-led occupation, and the rise and fall and rise of the Taliban have all disrupted regional...
You see how he said that? The rise and fall and rise again of the Taliban? Why are we funding the enemy?
projects.
And by we, I mean America. Legitimately, like $40 million a week. Oh, that's a lot of cheddar. That's a whole lot of cheddar. We could do a whole lot of good with that.
As a result, long-term infrastructure planning has been inconsistent, with local geography paying the price. A comparison of 1998 and 2019 satellite photos of the Hamoon Lakes makes it easy to see how such water scarcity can fuel conflict. Over the years, skirmishes have flared up periodically. In 1998, tensions escalated to the point where Iran gathered nearly 200,000 troops
Omni Scotty is like a fresh piece of meat up in this chat. He comes in and everyone wants a piece of it. And you're like, yo, that's my meat.
on the Afghan border, poised to launch an attack. And even though Iran ultimately backed down, the incident showed just how easily disputes over water rights could spiral into full-scale conflict.
Well, yeah, because it's water, and water is the essence of life. And if the other side of the village is taking all the water, I mean, I too would also have problems with that group of people.
Even now, tensions persist. For instance, in May 2023,
what blows my mind is that these idiots drew the Duran line with no real thought process. It's just like they got drunk one night and had a map and just started drawing lines. They're like, this is our side, that's y'all's side, that's the water.
deadly clashes broke out between Afghan and Iranian guards.
The American army left a good amount of armor in Afghanistan. Not only armor, but guns, vehicles, ships, all of the things. And the things that made me the most mad, they left dogs. They left dogs in the airport. How can you... No!
Near the Hamoon Lakes, 3 were killed, and each
Well, Hinduism never religion's a way of living. We call it a religion, dharma, which means duties. So Hinduism used to teach people how to live life in a perfect way. And honestly, I know this is like me coming up in like a Christian household. There's a lot of things in Christianity that I just did not subscribe to. It just felt wrong, right? Which is like no tattoos, only wearing one kind of linen, like a lot of weird stuff, right? Like let people be people. But when it came to Hinduism and this idea of dharma and Buddhism and self-enlightenment and like yin and yang, there's a lot of things that like I think are universally true to that, to where it's not like a religion, where it is kind of like a way of life.
side blamed the other for starting the fight. Arguing who began what misses the larger point.
Every religion has that stuff. Yeah, and I agree. And that's why I focus on that side of all religions, where it's focusing on being a good person for the sake of being a good person and benefiting your community. You don't need any other reason than that.
What matters is that the borders of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan are devolving, each at its own pace and setting. Islamabad, Tehran, and Kabul have each failed to keep a lid on the ethnic, nationalist, and ideological forces at play. Gradually, the region from Pakistan's northwest to Iran's southeast to Afghanistan's south is merging into a single battle space. Human trafficking, drug smuggling, jihadist fighters, fringe militias, and separatist factions are all blending into a massive, self-destructive security crisis that eats its own. This triad may already be the most dangerous place on Earth.
Yeah. In this, like, being in between two rivers or two, like, large bodies of water, I can imagine how lush and green and beautiful this land is.
But an even greater threat looms if the situation
Wal-Numan.
continues to escalate. The remote factions could find ways to
What
draw
is
the national governments of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan into direct
You can't convert into Hinduism? I thought you could.
state-on-state conflict. Some of the most devastating armed conflicts in world history
There are no word called Hindu in Vedic scripture. Hindu's word actually come from the Britishers, as they called India as Hindus because they cannot pronounce Indus people.
were triggered by small powers. It's called the proxy provocation theory. It explains how smaller
The Bhagavad Gita is in a scripture? I thought the Bhagavad Gita and the other thing were like basically like scriptures.
powers can manipulate or influence larger ones into conflict by creating situations that compel the larger powers to respond in ways that serve the smaller powers' interests. If things keep going, luck and reason will eventually run out and regional conflict will take place. And once the storm rolls in, it will be too late to run for the hills. I've been your host, Shirvan.
If I follow Dharma, well, what is Dharma? Because there's probably a lot of it that I follow instinctively and don't even realize.
From Caspian Report, if you approve of what we do, please leave a comment, hit the like button, and mayhaps share the video. In any case, thank you for your time, and Sahur.
I know I pause this video a lot and just to kind of regurgitate this video in 60 seconds or less. From what I understanding, you have the Afghan Taliban, you have the Pakistani Taliban, you have other forces in there as well that are constantly jousting for more position, more resources, and there are lines and agreements that were made a long time ago, basically DLCs that were made a long time ago, and they're like, yo, that's an old patch. We're not playing on that patch. We're playing on this patch. And they're like, no, this is the patch that the rules say. And they're like, nope, we ain't playing on that shit. Basically, that's what I got from this video. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of conflict. There's going to be a lot of conflict. There's going to be a lot of death. And I don't want to see any death. This may be a tragic year. 2025 is going to be a year of the history books. And I'm actually scared of it. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, then please like the video, subscribe, and if you really like it, then share it with some of your friends. My goal here is to spread a positive message while sprinkling my 2 cents on big topics like American, Indian, and world geopolitics, and even small stuff like Twitch drama and online debacles. And if you want to see it live, come join me over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ActuallyElrod. That's where I'm going to do all my reactions, and after the reactions, that's where we get down a game. And if you're like, hey, I have a video that I want this dude to sprinkle his 2 cents on, then come over on my Discord and let me know and join the community there. And while we're at it, I have to say thank you to everybody who has made that Discord just so poppin'. I never thought I'd have a Discord that's so flowing. It's really cool to see. Shout out to you, Bobby, Omni, Demon, all of you who have been in there who are just super active. Logie, you're the man. Logie is the one who's like modding and helping run the server, so thank you, Logie. Lastly, I challenge you. I have a challenge for you. Make somebody laugh today. We all know there's enough hate and vitriol in the world. If energy is contagious like the flu, then let's spread and get everyone contagious with our positive energy, right? Not negative energy, because there's so much of that. And if we could just be a small little change in someone's day, then you never know. Maybe that's the thing that starts shifting this world to a happier, healthier, just better place. And with all of that said and done, thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.